Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, and salam sejahtera to all. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome all presenters, participants, and delegates to International Conference of Management, Social Sciences and Humanities, ICMeSH 2020. The themes of our conference today is integrating values of the humanities and management for a sustainable future. And all of you are in our first parallel session of the conference. You are currently in the parallel session under the themes of religion, ethics, and law for sustainable future. I am Professor Ashraf Haji Abdul Rahman from University Indonesia Terengganu. I will be chairing our first session today. Okay, before we begin with the presentation, I would like to invite the conference chair, Associate Professor Dr. Lai Fong Woon, to deliver his opening remarks.
ICMeSH 2020 is one of the 9 conferences conducted concurrently under the umbrella of the World Engineering, Science and Technology Congress, or ISCON 2020, a biannual congress organized by University Technology Petronas UTP and the Management and Humanities Department. It is a pleasure to welcome respected speakers, delegates, and participants to the ICMeSH 2020. With this year's conference theme of integrating values of the humanities and management for a sustainable future, our focus is to study managerial challenges and to scrutinize the crossroads between human values in the conventional sense as they confront or collide with 21st century industrial and technological shifts, such as the Industrial Revolution 4.0, especially as this shift inevitably disrupt our lives and even livelihoods in terms of socio-economic and cultural changes. We have 2 prominent plenary speakers, one being the captain of the industry, and another is a professor from the academia. They will share their thoughts on the issues surrounding digital change, sustainable development, and humanities. Ladies and gentlemen, organizations and businesses have rigorously prepared themselves for the challenges in the advent of IR 4.0. However, be that as it may, as it turned out, the biggest disruption in our lives has been the global COVID-19 pandemic that has changed the way we operate. This disruption has also forced us to conduct our conference virtually. Nevertheless, I hope that you will see this disruption as an opportunity and make the most of this by turning it into an advantage. Our online conference platform, therefore, provides our delegates with a multitude of contact points and communication tools to exchange ideas and thoughts, as well as to form strategic networks. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to thank my committee members who have, in the last few years, worked very hard to prepare for this conference. Despite the impact of the pandemic, our team has been able to navigate the obstacles successfully in order to ensure that our conference session will run smoothly. I also would like to express utmost gratitude to our conference co-organizers, namely University of Nizwa, Oman, FPT University, Vietnam, Swinburne University of Technology, Sarawak Campus, International University of Malaya, Wales, University Malaysia, Terengganu, as well as to our sponsors, Makostia, Sendirian Berhad, and Creative Minds, Sendirian Berhad, for all their support and contribution. Finally, I would like to wish all ICMeSH 2020 conference delegates a fruitful, insightful, and meaningful conference. I hope that we will come away from this conference with newfound knowledge about important social and cultural issues that
Thank you, Associate Professor Dr. Lai, for the welcoming remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, please allow us to share with you the montage of the Department of Management and Humanities, University Technology Petronas, which is the organizer of ICMeSH 2020. Okay, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, University Malaysia Terengganu is part of the co-organizer of ICMeSH 2020. So we have just now just watching the corporate video of UMT. So UMT actually is a public university. Niche area of the university is marine science and maritime studies. So do not hesitate to contact our corporate personals if you want to know more about the university. Let's now continue with the parallel session where we have 6 presenters in this session. Each session or each presentation will be for 10 minutes followed by 5 minutes Q&A session. Okay, we have, as I mentioned just now, presenters. So the first presenter will be Dr. Abdul Hanis Embong from University Malaysia Terengganu. And we have second presenters, Aisyah binti Maliki and Dr. Firdaus Khairi, also from University Malaysia Terengganu. And we have Mrs. Nur Fatinah Muhammad Azhar from UTP. And we have Dr. Lin Wee from Swinburne University of Technology, Sarawak campus. We have also Muhammad Ikhwan, Mr. Muhammad Ikhwan from University Technology Petronas. And the last presenter is Dr. Muhammad Firdaus, also from University Malaysia Terengganu. For University Malaysia Terengganu, we have 7 presenters participating in this conference. Okay, we start with the first presenters. The first presenter is Dr. Abdul Hanis Embong, who will talk about research design based on the framework of Tafsir al-Fiqhi. Okay, for that, I would like to call upon Dr. Abdul Hanis Embong to the stage for his presentation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning for everyone. Thank you so much for chairperson for this session, Professor Dr. Ashraf Haji Abdul Rahman, and the organizer from UTP as well. My name is Abdul Hanis bin Embong. I am from University Malaysia Terengganu, and today I would like to share with you my paper, my article. It's about research design based on the framework of Tafsir al-Fiqhi. Research design based on the framework of Tafsir al-Fiqhi. So the Tafsir al-Fiqhi is a Quranic juristic commentary. So inshallah, in this session, I would like to detail how my result comes, and maybe can help to make a strategy about Islamic research methodology. Okay, research design is essential in constructing any conducted research. It is a plan, strategy, and investigation structure in particular element defined in accordance with research objectives. However, the current research design is based on conventional research method, CRM. So in my paper, I will just state CRM as common research method or conventional research methodology, which fails to address the Islamic-based researches. CRM and Islamic research methodology, IRM, Islamic research methodology, are different in many features. As the first, it claimed as being constructed based on a universal perspective. Islamic research methodology is structured on the pertinent and fundamental of Islamic overview. Somehow, prior to its good report, CRM, Common Research Method, is considerably counted in Islamic and Muslim intelligentsia. It brings to the question how far the common research method is relevant to study the above mentioned item, as its perspective and epistemology are different from Islamic research methodology. So today I will bring the two dimensions of the Islamic research. About research methodology, the first is Islamic research methodology, the second is common research methodology. So my study was conducted to construct one of the Islamic research methodology, the component that will be able to contribute to the framework of Tafsir Fiqhi, and make a Tafsir Fiqhi as a research design. Make a Tafsir Fiqhi as a research design. The first thing is Tafsir Fiqhi is guidelines, the set of guidelines of commentary or interpretation employed by Mufassirin. So we call it authors of Tafsir, interpretation. In discussing fiqh problem, juristic problems, relevant jurisprudence, law, which are in line with the interpreted Quranic verses. All right. For now, I will tell you about the research design. Research design is a common, is a very particular things that we have when we make any research, and it defined by the objective of the research. None of the research design can be applied into multiple research. However, a research can be conducted by utilizing different research design. The research design is a plan, strategy, and investigation structure in a certain element. Hence, it is functioned as a tool for obtaining the answer for research question and problem. A systematic plan has to be complete and true, including outlining each of the research processes, research hypotheses, and operational implication for the sake of final evaluation and analysis of researchers' problem. In point of fact, a research design is proposed by a researcher. It developed through the fulfillment of all aspects in the chosen procedure of research design. So, for my opinion, we all know about the research design. It's a common part of our research, such as thesis or article or paperwork and so on. So I come with a new dimension in Tafsir al-Fiqhi. Tafsir fiqhi can be implemented as a fiqh design for the Islamic research methodology. So why not, if Islamic studies can produce and can make its own research methodology instead of follow the common research method or common research methodology. It is function, Tafsir fiqhi is function as research design that describing the issues of fiqh, Islamic law, current issues, and biographies of prominent fiqh scholars such as Al-Imam Shafi'i, Imam Malik, Imam Ahmad, and Imam Abu Hanifa. And fiqh research design is a research that is pertaining to Islamic fiqh that involves all aspects of discussion in life. By the produced fiqh research design, hence Muslim researchers can utilize it while conducting a study on fiqh. And in my study, I identify two or three design of Quranic interpretation such as Tafsir al-Ilhadi, Tafsir al-Falsafi, Tafsir al-Sufi, Tafsir al-Bayani, Tafsir al-Ijtima'i, Tafsir Madhabi, Tafsir al-Ilmi, and so on. The scope of the design can be enlarged to the extent of other sciences such as social, economy, politics, nationalistic study, education, and other related matters to Islam, with the constructor of fiqh design based on the pattern of Tafsir al-Fiqhi apparently able to resurrect the themes of Islamic scholars, especially in the field of tafsir. And the conclusion, this article identify of primary elements in Tafsir al-Fiqhi which are able to be applied in Islamic researches. The first thing is both universal design and pattern of Tafsir Fiqhi is regarded as a plan or strategy in research. So we can make it as a research design on Islamic thought or Islamic studies area. The second thing is it is focusing on constructing information within certain research subject through various scopes. And the last, research design and the pattern of Tafsir al-Fiqhi can be merged with another design in research. So I think it's clear for today. Research design, we can use research design in our common area, but it's very good and very helpful if we have own research, Islamic research methodology from our discipline, such as a hadith, such from Al-Quran, such from a fiqh, and so on. So in my case, I make Tafsir al-Fiqhi as a research design for the Islamic studies area research. I think that's all for today. I think I make it concise. If you want to know more, maybe you can read my paper in this conference, inshallah. That's all from me. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Hanis, for your good and interesting presentation just now. Okay, now shall we proceed to Q&A session? Okay, for your information for the audience can type in chatting box any questions related to the presentation. Okay, I have one question actually to Dr. Abdul Hanis. My question is, can you give one example of tafsir fiqhi? So maybe our audience participants want to know what's the real tafsir fiqhi in the context of modern life. I mean, if you can give one example.
All right, thank you so much, Professor Dr. Ashraf, for the question. Okay, tafsir fiqhi is a well-known interpretation method that's compare the fiqh or law within two perspectives. For example, tafsir al-Qurtubi. For example, tafsir al-Qurtubi 2008 in the carcass problem. Carcass is a bangkai problem. Is it able to eat or not able to eat? In the tafsir Qurtubi, Imam Malik state there are two different things. The first is it permissible to be utilized based on the hadith from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That the first. The second, it is haram, forbidden to us or benefit from it, even giving the mixture of water and najis to the livestock animal or watering the plants based on this verse. So what I can tell here, when we read the particular of tafsir fiqhi, we can see the big picture how the author make a comparison related to the issues. And if you see the Imam al-Qurtubi as well, is very very detailed about the elements of the compression. So what I can bring here, we just take the framework of the research design on tafsir fiqhi, make it as a research design on our studies. For example, my master student, between Malaysia fiqh and Jordan fiqh. Malaysia fiqh and Jordan fiqh. Malaysian Islamic law and Jordan Islamic law. So instead of they use research design on common research method that's provide from the Western scholars, why not we just take our discipline, fiqh, what a research design? My research design is a tafsir al-fiqhi. Why you use the tafsir al-fiqhi? Because the tafsir fiqhi compilation within two perspectives. So my perspective in Malaysia Islamic law, the second is Jordan Islamic law. That's an example I can give for today, Prof.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hanis, for your explanation. Okay, for the information to all audience and participants, actually Dr. Hanis is a lecturer in Islamic Studies at University Malaysia Terengganu who just coming back from Center for Islamic Studies, Oxford University. So thank you very much, Dr. Abdul Hanis.
Most
Okay,
welcome.
now we shall proceed to another next presenter. Okay, we proceed to next presenter who is Dr. Firdaus Khairi Abdul Qadir and Siti Aisyah binti Maliki. So maybe Siti Aisyah will be presenting their purpose in this session, inshallah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Siti Aisyah binti Maliki from University Malaysia Terengganu. Today's title is the effectiveness of the dakwah approach towards non-Muslim community in Malaysia. Review. Let's see the abstract first. Like the title that we have seen above, this study reviews the effectiveness of dakwah approach toward non-Muslim community in Malaysia. The development of modernization in civilized society today presents a great challenge for dakwah to non-Muslims. Without the ability of da'i in managing the best dakwah strategy in this rapidly developing era, the process of dakwah and the delivery of knowledge becomes increasingly difficult. Therefore, this study discusses the application of the concept and effectiveness of the appropriate dakwah approach to non-Muslims in Malaysia. The objective of this paper is to discuss a dakwah approach which is relevant to the environment. This research is to study the right methods from the dakwah approaches in the previous studies using qualitative document analysis technique. The findings showed that there were many approaches that can be used in dakwah to non-Muslim. We'll discuss this in the next slide later on. The implications of the study are that some of the methods found in the study can be used by da'i in dakwah activities. In such a way, the Islamic dakwah process will continue to grow and the dakwah will be able to be an agent of social change and be able to build a strong civilized society in terms of akidah, akhlaq, ibadah and muamalat. Let's see the introduction. Why we still need dakwah in this modern age? When today's society is said to have achieved a rapid civilization. This is because when a civilization develops fast, more challenges, allegations, and problems will arise. Mankind in this era of globalization is increasingly greedy in pursuing their ambitions of life. This causes them to almost neglect the spiritual preservation which should be the main guide and reference in every change and development of a civilization. As a result, human beings are now drifting and seem to be lost in this rapid modernization. This is proved by various issues of crime and moral collapse that are reported almost every day in newspapers, internet, and television. Before we go further, let's see what's the meaning of da'wah. Da'wah means asking for help, worshipping, driving, inviting, calling, persuading, and shouting. There are three important aspects in da'wah. First, identifying and understanding the problems of the target of da'wah. We call them mad'um. In the context of this study, mad'u are non-Muslims. Next, the appropriate approach of da'wah. We call it manhaj da'wah. And lastly, the individuals who deliver the da'wah. We call them da'i. This is according to Abdul Aziz Muhammad Zain, 1997. The objectives of this study are, first, to identify the approach of da'wah that has been done to non-Muslims. Second, to identify the effectiveness of da'wah that has been done to non-Muslims. Research methodology. As for the research design, the approach used in this study is a literature review using qualitative document analysis design. This study is to achieve the objective in the study. This study will collect data, record the data concepts, and the statistics regarding the study. All findings of the study will be summarized in the findings and discussion. Study findings and discussion. Let us see the findings first. Based on the previous studies that have been studied by the researchers for this paper, there are many manhaj or approaches found in dakwah that has been applied in Malaysia. Among them are dakwah bil hikmah, dakwah bil hal, dakwah with persuasion, dakwah through art, dakwah through mass media, dakwah through entertainment, dakwah bil qalam, dakwah bil lisan, al-mau'izatul hasanah approach, mujahadah billati hiya ahsan approach, muhadarah approach, munaqashah approach, and at-ta'aruf approach. From all the findings or the approaches that we have uh, see above, we have seen above, in this study, the researcher will only talk about two approaches, which are dakwah bil hikmah and dakwah bil hal. Let us talk about dakwah bil hikmah first. According to Zikmal Fuad 2014, dakwah bil hikmah means to convey dakwah in a wise manner, which is one of the dakwah approaches applied by Rasulullah SAW throughout his struggle in spreading Islam to non-Muslims. The wisdom that every da'i should have is not only in terms of theoretical knowledge, but also practical wisdom. This is because da'i need to deal with non-Muslims who are highly intellectual with a high standard of living and position. Therefore, they need to use different approach than just the presentation of theory. A very extreme efforts need to be made by every da'i for that purpose. Next, da'wah bil hal. One of the main and most important quality of a da'i is that he or she must have a good example and role model for the Islam he calls for. He must fulfill all the pillars of Islam, follow the sunnah and way of life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, stay away from things that are questionable, stay away from everything that is haram, and always remember Allah in all small and big things. His or her family members must be committed to all the teachings of Islam and maintain their manners. Dakwah bil hal is also known as Qudwah Hasanah, a good example, and Lisanul Hal. As we all know, as a da'i or Muslim ourselves, every conversation, every practice, our household, the way we dress, our children and family are something that should be taken care of by every Muslim. Da'i cannot succeed in da'wah. He or she does not practice it first. Da'i must show a noble example, character and morals. The thing that must have in a da'i is to be a true Muslim so that he or she can be an example and be able to show the appreciation of Islam with words and deeds, not just a mere theory. Noble personalities are formed as a result of habit and constant training. As for the conclusion, both dakwah bil hikmah and dakwah bil hal are very important approaches in dakwah efforts. These approaches are seen to be able to have an impact on the soul's interests, perceptions, and thoughts of non-Muslim. This is based of the literature review that we have studied before. These approaches are needed in da'wah when facing mad'u from various levels of education, social, cultural background, and others. This is because the wise approach is able to trigger new inspiration in the skill of da'wah, especially in Malaysia. Meanwhile, the approach with role models can influence a person's soul to approach us and at the same time facilitate the implementation of dakwah efforts. In conclusion, this study is very important for life in Malaysia, which consists of various races and religions. Therefore, a guideline that covers all aspects of human life is very important in maintaining the well-being of a plural society in our country. In addition, all da'i of a new need to think of new efforts either in terms of da'wah approach and strength building in themselves to provide an example that is able to attract more non-Muslims toward Islam. This study is part of a research project FRGS under Mohe KPT Malaysia conducted together with other researchers from University Malaysia Terengganu and University Sultan Zainal Abidin. That's all for me today. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Siti. Okay, Mrs. Siti Aisyah binti Maliki for your presentation on the topic, the effectiveness of the da'wah approach towards non-Muslim community in Malaysia and overview. Okay, we go to the Q&A session. Okay, I have one question actually from the audience. The question is, do you think debate on comparative religion is appropriate or not? Why? If you say not, and why? If you say yes, appropriate, then why?
Well,
Debate on comparative religion.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, I'm sorry for the long presentation. As for the question, I think the debate is appropriate because what we call it, when we want to compare something, we need to discuss it. Then only then we can find the weaknesses, the strongest that have within the religions. That's all.
Okay, thank you, Siti Aisyah, for your explanation and elaboration just now. Okay, let's see any other questions coming. Okay, no question at live Q&A. So with that, thank you very much, Dr. Siti Aisyah, for your explanation and
Not yet the
presentation just
doctor.
now.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now we shall proceed to another presenter. We have Mrs. Nur Fatinah Muhammad Azhar, together with other presenters as well, Dr. Muhammad Nuri Al-Amin and Dr. Muhammad Ridwan Tony Lim Abdullah. Okay, I think for this session, maybe Mrs. Nur Fatinah will be presenting their papers. Okay, the paper entitled Proposed Indicators for Social Taqwa Index Indicator in Kelantan State Government. Okay, with that, I would like to call upon Mrs. Nur Fatinah Muhammad Azhar to the stage.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Fatina binti Muhammad Azhar from Department of Management and Humanities UTP. So today I would like to present my research paper entitled Proposed Indicators for Social Taqwa Index Indicator in Kelantan State Government. The research background is Kelantan State Government applied developing with Islam policies in 1990. So there are various changes has been implemented, especially in 5 aspects in administration, Sharia, economy, education, and social culture. So, the objective of this developing with Islam policy itself is to formulate and implement Islamic policies aimed at making the Kelantan community the caliph of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala who are having taqwa, productive, progressive, and value progress according to Islam. So, the problem statement here is until now, there was no specific measuring tool designed to gauge the effectiveness of the developing with Islam policy. Why I'm using indicator in this research because indicators is not something new and indicators itself develop a wide range purposes and user group. Indicators had been used in policy management, public information, advocacy, organization, decision making, and allocation of resources. Here are a few research that has been run at Kelantan State Government, but each of these research only focusing on certain indicators. For example, the first research focusing on economy, the second one focusing on mas'uliyah concept, and the third one focusing on education. But this research will we propose indicators that will measure all aspects in developing with Islam policy. So this research proposed 7 indicators. They are Islamic ritual practices, Islamic culture, economy, education, cooperation, administration, and society. Islamic ritual practices indicator in this research meaning that in the implementation of worship practices in the state of Kelantan, such as in reviving mosques and attending religious activities. To achieve taqwa is by worshipping Allah. Muslims who truly understand Islam will put all their dependence on Allah without expecting power other than Allah. So that's why Islamic ritual practices is one of the indicators that proposed in this research. Islamic cultural indicator in this research means that accepting Islam as cultural in the society lifestyle in terms of attitude, habits, and surrounding. For example, in healthy lifestyle, Islamic dress code, Islamic cultural art, and sustainable environment. So, by practicing Islamic culture in life, can groom a good Muslim who has taqwa. Because of that, this indicators is one of the proposed indicators for that can use as a measuring tool for developing with Islam policy. Economy indicator in this research meaning that the application of Islamic economic system by the people of Kelantan, either the people of Kelantan applying Islamic donation culture such as infaq or Islamic financial product. Education indicator in this research meaning that the application of education system in Kelantan state government, either the Kelantan society itself applying lifelong learning culture or the tendency to choose Islamic education. The purpose of education itself is enlighten and expose children to the existence of Allah and a revelation of the attributes of Allah. So that this indicator is one of the proposed indicators for this research. Cooperation indicators means a spirit of helpfulness in the community because the practice of helping people in the community itself will build another relationship. Without a good understanding of Islam, the value of helping each other rarely happen. That's why the researcher proposed this indicator as one of the indicators for developing with Islam policy. Administration indicator is suggested for the social taqwa indicators in order to know the response of the people of Kelantan to the administrative system. Thus, one of the mechanisms to know the impact of developing with Islam policy is by using this indicator. Society indicator meaning that is an organized group of people associated together for religious, culture, scientific, political, patriotic or other purposes. So, this research will go through in depth in social interaction and social security. So the aim is to analyze the application of Islam in the society itself. The conclusion of this research is to help Kelantan state government in order to know the impact and the effectiveness of developing with Islam policy by using all those indicators that has been proposed. So, this research will help Kelantan state government to improve their policies in the future. That's all from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Nur Fatinah Muhammad Azhar, for very good and interesting presentations. Okay, now shall we move to a Q&A session? Okay, let's look if you have any questions pertaining to your presentation just now. So any audience who want to ask question, you can type the question in Q&A live, yeah, in Bahasa Malaysia or in English. Okay, we will still accept any question related to the presentation. So far, we don't have any question yet. So with that, thank you very much, Mrs. Nur Fatinah Mama Azhar, for your presentation just now. Inshallah, we will meet again, inshallah. Okay. Okay. Next we will proceed to another presenter. We have Dr. Lin Wee from Swinburne University of Technology, Sarawak Campus, Malaysia, who will be talking about money, power, and inequality among married couple in urban Sarawak. With that, I would like to call upon Dr. Lin Wee for her presentation.
Professors, doctors, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Lin, and today it gives me great pleasure to present and share with you some of the findings from my research work on money, power, and inequality among married couples in urban Sarawak. Before I share with you the details of my study, I would like to first of all ask you two questions. Did you know that in 2019, women in Malaysia earn an average annual income that is less than the average income earned by men? In fact, the difference is 2,400 ringgit. In addition, did you know that in Malaysia, women only occupy 24.7% of higher level positions in the country, while men occupy the remaining 75.3%. These statistics are some of the findings reported by the United Nations Programme of 2021. So what are the implications from these findings? Well, the UN findings imply that even though we as a country have made notable progress on gender equality and women's economic empowerment, gender gap in the Malaysia labour market still remains. So what is my study about? My study examines power and gender equality in marriage in two areas. One, managing economic resources, and two, household decision making. To be more specific, my study wants to investigate if women's access to economic resources through participation in the labor force has resulted in more equitable distribution of marital power in their marriage. So what do past research findings reveal? In accordance to Blood and Wool's resource theory of power in 1960, a partner who brings in more social economic resources such as income, education, and occupational status into a marriage will have more say in marital decisions. So what is the implication from this theory then? Well, this theory implies that in order for women to be on par with their husbands in a marriage, women would need to access to independent wages. Indeed, this became the main feminist agenda during the 1960s and 70s, such that women around the world were encouraged to enter the workforce so as to increase their self-worth, autonomy, and power within a marriage. For example, in the case of Malaysia, during the rapid economic growth period from 1970 and 1995, women's participation in the workforce increased steadily from 32.2% to 44.7%. Also, in 2019, 55.7% of the country's workforce are women. However, like all theories which are subjected to criticism, the main criticism of the resource theory is that it fails to take into account the influences of cultural practices and personal ideologies on marital power. In terms of research method, I have adopted a qualitative approach due to the sensitivity and complexity of the research topic. This includes interviewing 40 urban married couples living in Kuching and Miri. Couples were recruited through snowballing technique, and each couple was interviewed separately. So, what are my key findings? Firstly, most respondents do not associate more money with more control over decision making in the marriage. For example, many spoke of controlling money rather than using money to control their partners. Also, many do not associate money with household decision making. Secondly, many denied having conflict over money. And those that did, they regard it as minor or very trivial matters. Last but not least, the two main determinants that influence the working and distribution of power in marriage are gender roles ideology and religious teachings. Gender roles ideology refers to the appropriate roles, rights, and responsibilities of women and men in society. Religious teachings, on the other hand, refers to Christian beliefs and Muslim teachings about the appropriate gender roles. So, what is my conclusion then? I started off my research assumption based on Blood and Wool's resource theory of marital power which states that marital power depends on the amount of resources one holds. Towards the end, the findings from my research cannot fully support this theory. This is because my study reveals that, firstly, marital power is very much hidden and is influenced by gender ideologies and religious teachings. Secondly, much of marital power is still very much in the hands of male respondents. This is due to the influence of gender ideologies and religious teaching, which are embedded in our daily lives. They are communicated to us through education, the media, and religious and cultural practices. In fact, they are so powerful that they come to represent social reality. Thirdly, having a source of income for married women is only the first step towards economic independence and equality in a marital relationship. If women want further improvements in both economic and better sense of well-being, they need to be more proactive in initiating change to improve their well-being. Last but not least, what is equally important is the change in ideologies to further boost women's bargaining power in a marriage. But changing and controlling ideologies, it's no easy task and certainly beyond the capacity of an individual. Hence, it requires the involvement and the commitment of government and policy makers in the country. For example, there need to be more sustainable laws and regulations that addresses equitable issues directly in the workforce. This includes setting quotas or targets for women to hold leadership position in the private and public sectors, and creating gender equality awareness through education, mainstream social media, in order to change the country's ideologies with regards to gender roles. UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. Thank you for your interest and attention. Stay safe, stay well.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lin Wee, for your good and very interesting presentation just now. Okay, we move to the Q&A session, and I hope that Dr. Lin still with us, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, if we can see any questions related to your presentation just now. Okay, before that, I have one question for Dr. Lin Wee. Yeah? Is it okay for you?
Yeah, sure. Professor,
Okay,
please go ahead.
from your observation in the context of Malaysian married couple in Malaysia, so you talk about money, power, and inequality. So which one considered most influential in shaping married couple livelihood and well-being?
I think it's this ideology, this gender ideologies, and society's belief about what are the roles for women, what are the roles for men, and especially this breadwinner ideology, okay, is very, very strong and very, very powerful and influential. From my study, at least in the context of Sarawak, among the urban married couples. And of course, the second other powerful influence is religious teaching. There's no denial of it. And our society is very, very, very different, I would say, compared to the Western society, you know. So, yeah, I hope I answer your questions, Professor.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lin. Actually,
Thank
we
you.
have another question for you. We have another
Okay.
question. Okay. In your view, the marital power, is it also influenced by culture, such as a Western and Eastern culture?
I think the culture is slowly changing. Definitely, religion and our gender ideology still plays a dominant role. But I mean, the world is changing now. So who is to say what's going to happen, in 5, 10 years from now? And of course, society now, our beliefs compared to 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it has definitely changed. And with this pandemic, I think it will actually speed up the change, whether like it or not. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other question? Let us see if we have any other questions. Okay, no questions. So with that, thank you, Dr. Lin, for your explanation and elaboration just now. Okay, we
Thank
will
you.
meet again, inshallah. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all participants and presenters, let we move to another presentation that will be presented by Mr. Ikhwan, Muhammad Ikhwan Izzat Zulkifli, who will talk about religious harmony among multi-religious society in Perak, Malaysia, a preliminary study. With that, I would like to call upon Mr. Muhammad Ikhwan Izzat Zulkifli for his presentation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ikwan. Today I'm going to present my research paper entitled Just Harmony Among Multi-Religious Society in Perak, Malaysia, a Preliminary Study. This is my presentation outline, introduction, objective, methodology, result in discussion, and conclusion. Just harmony is not a new issue that has been raised in many countries, especially countries with different ethnic and religious groups. This issue has become a major concern of many leaders of countries to ensure and maintain religious harmony. Religion has become one of the contributing factors to conflict. In Malaysia, the level of unity between ethnic and just inherent is still fragile. Why? Because these issues have become more complex because they no longer deal with theological aspect, but are associated with the problem of living together in social interaction. If you look at to the Perak context, the tension and sensitivity among multi society has its long historical issues from British colonization till today. Among incidents that we can see in Perak context is the issue of temple in Sri Manaswaran Aman Kovind Temple attack on the church and the convent school in 2010 due to request the use of the word of Allah and religious conversion. However, several incidents of religious tension may not be the best indicator to measure the harmonious level of disharmony. The interaction between religious and inherent should be examined and studied in detail to determine whether they live in peace or in conflict. And this study is expected to help the concerns of the Perak state stakeholders such as policy makers, NGOs, leaders, and head of the society to improve inter-religious relations and manage social conflicts. This is the objective of this paper, to identify the level of the dimension of this harmony, to determine the level of the dimensions of religious harmony according to the religious group. This is methodology of this study. This study was conducted in Kenta Street, which this is a preliminary study. Use what we call quantitative approach through survey questionnaire. Technique of sampling is purposive sampling, which are collected from 44 materials adherents in Perak, which Muslim, Buddhist, Hindus, and Christian, and the collected data were analyzed descriptively using statistical package for the social sciences, SPSS. This is the result and discussion. If we can see from this table, The study showed that the peacefulness was recorded the highest mean score compared to other dimensions, which the mean score is 3.915, which consider moderately high, and followed by acceptance, understanding, cooperation, right injustice, and stable conflict. As we can see from in this table, a stable conflict was recorded the lowest mean score at 3.3886. Uh, Peacefulness was recorded the highest level of the dimension of this harmony. This shows that a plural society in Perak lives in a peaceful condition despite the state having different religious groups. Why? Because Malaysians are generally peace-loving people, although inter-ethnic or inter-religious relations have generally been deemed to have worsened over the decades. And acceptance also consider the highest level of mean score. Why? Because the openness to accept the presence of different inherents can also be linked to the spirit of tolerance that has been inculcated in their regions and society. The acceptance of diversity in the community became the foundation of unity that established consolidation as well as prosperity in the neighborhood, because the acceptance of this diversity in the community is crucial for national unity and harmony among multi-religious society. This is the result of what we call level of peacefulness, acceptance, understanding, cooperation, right injustice, and stable conflict according to religious group. The findings indicate that the group of Hindus, Muslim, and Christian obtained the highest mean value for the dimension of religious harmony, which what we call peacefulness, acceptance, understanding, cooperation, right injustice, and stable conflict, which the Hindu group scored the highest mean value for understanding, cooperation, and stable conflict, while the Muslims scored the highest mean value for peacefulness, and right injustice, with what and Christians score the highest mean value for acceptance. Why? Because Hindu feel that mutual understanding between different groups in Perak seems to have a strong mutual understanding. According to Northern et al., bringing all these groups together will lead to interracial contact, which will lead to a better understanding of other races or these groups, and promote greater tolerance and social interaction. While for Muslim, although they are different from Hindus in terms of beliefs and practices, they agree that peacefulness as well as right injustice in Perak is high. Why? Because based on the finding, Muslims found that the right injustice to all these inherent in the context in Perak is satisfactory, which each region has the right to practice their and have a right and freedom to practice their beliefs and practices. This is reflected in the Malaysian government policy regarding official public holidays, allowing Malaysian religious citizens to celebrate their main festivals such as Muslims, Buddhists, Hindus, and Christians. In conclusion, the finding of this study indicates that all dimensions of this harmony is moderately high, which peacefulness has proven to be the highest level of dimension of this harmony, which shows that multi-religious society in Perak feel that they live in a peacefulness environment. Another major finding of this study is that stable conflict was recorded at the lowest level of the dimension for the Christian group, which they feel that conflict is still happen even though they live together in a community. This studies not only shows the current level of religious harmony, but also provides the level of religious harmony according to religious group in Perak. And that's all from me, and thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Muhammad Ikhwan Izzat Zulkifli, for your detailed explanation and detailed presentation. Yeah, thank you very much. So we move to the Q&A session. Okay, But I will see if we have any questions related to your presentation just now. Okay, at the moment we don't have any question yet from live chat. Yeah. So any other question from audience? So the audience and participants can type. Yeah. Any question? If you want to ask question, you can type in the chat box. Yeah. Okay. If I can ask you one question, Mr. Muhammad Ikhwan. Yeah.
Yes, Prof.
In your study, why you choose state of Perak for your study location?
Why I choose the state of Perak? Because it consists of a multiracial and multi-religious society. Because if we look at to the because statistics issued by the Department of Statistics in terms of the composition of religion is quite similar to the Malaysia. And second, in
I
terms
see.
of the history, if you look at to the historical context, which we have what we call the immigrants from China and India. So we call the issue of religious harmony. Actually, we have from the what we call the historical issue, means from the previous what we call study. If we look at to the Perak also, if you look at, is it might be different from the other states like Kedah, Terengganu, and Kelantan, which this state, if we look at, we call based on our observation, which urban area mostly majority is what we call non-Muslim, or which are not Malay, because they live in separate, because based on the what we call the impact of the British colonization or agenda, which rule what we call rules, divide and rules policy. That's why I choose to look at how they live in a multi-religious society in Perak. Did I answering your
Okay,
question?
thank you for your, it's okay. Thank you for your explanation. Okay, let me look if we have any other question. So we have one suggestion from Professor Jayum. He mentioned that the general finding of the study in Perak is not really representative of what actually happening on the ground in Malaysia generally. So that's why maybe just as a good suggestion.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe in the next study, maybe you can focus for other countries or other state as well, and not
Yes,
just
yes.
Perak.
Because this is
Okay,
a preliminary study,
yeah,
previously,
yeah.
which I focus on one
Okay,
district only.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Muhammad Ikhwan,
Yes.
for your explanation. Okay,
Yes.
we move to another presenter. Okay, at the moment we have already who presented on few topics related to ethics and religion. Okay, so now we move to last presenter. The last presenter is Dr. Muhammad Firdaus Yusof. Yeah, Dr. Muhammad Firdaus Yusof from University Malaysia Terengganu, who will be talking about social carrying capacity at Pangkor Island. With that, I would like to call upon Dr. Muhammad Firdaus Yusof on the stage to deliver his presentation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Greetings to all the participants, the speakers, and secretariat for the international conference on management of social science and humanities. Thank you very much for the opportunities, give me the opportunities to join this conference. Okay, so I am Dr. Muhammad Firdaus from Center for Fundamental and Continuing Education, University Malaysia Terengganu. So my topic is about tourism diversity and social diversity. It's just a literature review. Okay, so tourism diversity and social diversity, a literature review. That's my topic. So, as we know, the tourism play a role, the important role in the development of countries. Okay, so according to the World Bank 2020, the total revenue from the tourism sector reached a value of 1.393 trillion. Okay, so international tourism is important tourism industries for most developed countries because it's able to generate high foreign exchange, contribute to the national economic as a whole, and is a major source of employment. Okay, but now, as we know, that the tourism come to us because of the pandemic COVID-19. Okay, considering the diversity of the issue from the growth and development of the tourism requires carefully assignment and context of the sustainable development. Okay, so according to the 1987 Brundtland report, sustainable development is a development that can meet the need of the present without compromising the ability to meet the need of the future. Okay, so the concept of tourism capacity or tourism carrying capacity has been used as the main assessment. It is in line with the perspective that tourism growth should not have an inverse effect on the local population system in the environment, social and economic aspect, based on World Tourism Organization and the Education Framework. Okay, so we go to the concept of the carrying capacity first. So carrying capacity was first used in 1986 to assess the amount of cargo that could be safely transported on a ship. Recently, 1981, the concept was introduced in the field of ecology and implemented through the study of biology, sociology, geography, and aviation. But this is the first of tourism. The concept is not in tourism. Okay. So the next, the evolution of the concept connectivity has evolved from community connectivity, resources connectivity, ecology connectivity to the more integrated connectivity is state on the table one. Okay. Okay. See the table or the evaluation of the concept connectivity. Then we can see the connectivity first start from ecology development, okay, and then soil connectivity, water mineral and base connectivity, environment connectivity, ecology connectivity, and then complex connectivity. Okay. So the next, what is the tourism connectivity? Okay, so the tourism sector will typically influence the social, cultural, economic activities in tourist destination, the lifestyle of local and policymakers. Tourists are actually very sensitive to the social, cultural, and environmental qualities. Therefore, the tourism destination needs to be managed based on sustainability criteria. Otherwise, the destination will lose the ability to generate benefit from this tourism sector. So every process in the tourism growth needs to be sustained with the use of concept of tourism connectivity at each destination. Okay, so the tourism system is an integrated system consisting of ecology, which means biological and physical, social, cultural, infrastructure, and management. It's subsystem. Okay, this is state with from UN this is the United Nations World Tourism Organization in 1998, 2004, and 2015. Okay, over the years, TCC is tourism capability has been evaluated for the purpose of selecting individual tourism destination around the world. Okay, so tourism capability suggests that a destination should not be developed beyond its nature capacity for tourism. Okay, although there are limitations associated with the concept capacity, it has been described as appropriate tool for management because it can conserve existing resources. Okay, although not always approved by other researchers, okay, TCC assessment remain one of the most useful and widely used technique, okay, for tourism and recreation planning as well as management, especially when combined with others management tools. Okay, so tourism capacity is to create management tools to sustain or to make the tourism sector sustain. Okay. Various destination put forward by agency and researcher among letter O explain that tourism capacity as the maximum numbers of the visitors can use a tourism destination in the same time without the need for destruction of physical, economic and social cultural environment and color which is unacceptable in the form of time gratification. Okay, so that means is the maximum numbers of the visitor can visit a place in one time. Okay, if they say that this place already reached my experience. Okay, I'm not comfortable with this thing, with these numbers of tourism. I'm not comfortable with the infrastructure that I need to share with others tourists. So that's already meets the numbers of the visitors in the place. Okay. So you can see the development of the tourism capacity. We can see that it started from 1519 until 1997. Okay, this is the reference. So when we already go to the tourism capacity is including everything, social, physical, environment. Okay, but I just want to narrow down the tourism capacity, go to the social capacity, or just want to take one part of the tourism capacity in for social capacity. Okay, so social capacity refer to the social and cultural impact by tourism and on the local population. Okay, so as you see, one of the most difficult threshold to measure against physical, ecological, and economic social capacity, since they depends to a high degree of perception and evaluation. Okay, moreover, it's also difficult to measure because it depends on individual preference, attitude, opinions, and experience. Okay, so ideas regarding social and psychological capacity are often used to consider the concept of condition and impact on local and tourist satisfaction. Okay, so according to Savadius 2000 define SCC as the maximum level of the consumption that can be absorbed by an area without acceptable decline in quality of the visitor experience and without unacceptable side effect to the community of that area. So the two concepts of SCC is the acceptable quality of the visitor experience before seeking alternative destination, or the level of tolerance of host population to the presence of the tourists. Okay, that means the two components here is one of the experience or the visitor experience. That means tourists themselves. Okay, how about their quality of their experience of their tourists they are visiting. And the number two is about the local population. Okay, so the local itself, they still can accept the tourists come to their area. Okay, if they say they not accept the tourists come to the area, so that means the social capacity already meet the threshold. Okay, so indicator of social capacity consists of various indicators such as congestion, conflict, noise, and satisfaction. Okay, while the meeting report in evaluate is described subject to count of numbers of others seen by the individual in his or her assessment. The level of congestion is a negative subjective assessment on the numbers of people observed or the number of meeting in this group or activity to many. Okay, that means here if tourists say, okay, I'm not satisfied, I'm not many of tourists in this place. Okay, okay, so that means the tourist itself not happy with their traveling or their trip. Okay, So as a conclusion, from previous studies, it concluded that tourism is a lifeblood of the global economy. However, with the rapid development of the tourism, there needs to be specialization in the determination of the development, okay, of the tourism in this tourist destination. So this capacity is seen to help solve the problem of the tourism development in a study location and develop tourism towards sustainable tourism. Okay, so this is because the social aspect is less emphasized in the development of the tourism instead. Tourism location-wise stakeholders such as tourists and local are the backbone in the development on the tourism in a tourist destination. Therefore, in determining the development of the tourism in a location, the involvement and response of these stakeholders must be given attention. Okay, so I think that's all for my presentation. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Thank you, Dr. Muhammad Firdaus Yusuf, for your presentation just now about Pangkor Island and about its social carrying capacity among the populations there. Okay, with that, we move to the Q&A session. Since we have Dr. Muhammad Firdaus with us right now, if you have any additional information, Dr. Muhammad Firdaus, to say something here, if you want to add some information, just a brief information, if you still have some to say.
Okay. Basically, this is one of the part of my PhD thesis. Okay, so I have the numbers and the reports or the data from this research. Okay, so but I just present here about the literature review only because I changed the paper immediately before the conference. Okay, if have any presenter or the participant want to get more info for this research, can contact me lah, insyaAllah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Actually, we have one question from the audience. Okay, if local population is larger than carrying capacity of tourism, what will be the impact on sustainability? Okay, I repeat the question. If local population is larger than carrying capacity of tourism, so what will be the impact on sustainability of the island?
Alright, thank you for the question. Okay, so if the community is, or the local community is larger than the capacity, or they already reached the maximum level of capacity, so the sustainability is not very good lah. So they must have a plan to make that place to make it back to sustainability lah. Okay, so it's already level of the characteristic.
Okay, we will look if we still have some other questions. When actually you did this research actually?
This is I start from 2014 until 2018.
Okay. So any new development about the island right now?
Yeah, the Pangkor Island development is very good and very fast. Okay, and what I tourists come to the Pangkor. Okay, so the social carrying capacity still acceptable at Pangkor Island. So that's the result for my research. Okay, for basically for this social carrying capacity, if it is involved local and the tourist itself. Okay, if the tourist satisfied with the cleanliness or the infrastructure from this place, and the local itself can accept the tourists come to their place, we call it is still acceptable.
Okay, we have another question. What about the implication of the study, say in the context of current situation, pandemic, COVID-19? So, if you want to relate this with with your study, any impact on that? Any implication?
So I think with the pandemic, for the tourism industry is very okay. So the tourists cannot come to the island, and the local community itself cannot get economic from the from tourists, because tourists not come to the island. So it's very big impact, not only to the tourism sector itself or the tourist stakeholders, is also involved to the local money from the tourism industry.
Okay, final question. Do you think what specialization, I mean, to be focused for to improve the tourism in Pangku Island? What sort of specialization, what sort of improvement that need to be done for tourism in Pangku?
Okay, this is based on what I study and my research and the response from the tourists itself. So they infrastructure and more development in Papua Island, especially during the public holidays. They need to queue around 2 hours to get the ferry to go back to the mainland. So they need this is the main thing that stakeholders should involve or should improve in the future.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Firdaus, for your explanations. I think with that, we would like to say thank you for your kindness and for your elaboration, for your detailed elaboration on the topics. Yeah, so thank you very much. And now let me move to another session. Since we still have time, I would like to ask the organizers, maybe can replay corporate video for UTP and UMT if you still will have time. Happy watching. Okay, you just watching a corporate video from Department of Management and Humanities UTP and University Malaysia Terengganu. Okay, on behalf of the University Malaysia Terengganu, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the main organizers for this conference, who has invited us to be part of the organizing committee for the conference. Okay, we from the Center for Fundamental and Continuing Education would like again to thank our committee members and friends from Department of Management and Humanities UTP. Before we end the session, I would like to invite all the speakers to come on screen to take a picture together. Okay.
Dr. Nuri, untuk Dr. Lin dengan Dr. Firdaus lagi sekali, tadi tak sempat.
All speakers, okay? Would you please come to the screen so that we can take a picture? Okay, thank you. So we come to the end of the session. So on behalf of the organizing committee for this conference, I would like to thank all of you for having this session together and being patient with us from the beginning till the end of the session. With that, we can proceed.
Okay, continue.
Okay, we come to the end of the session. With that, I would like to thank all presenters and participants for this conference, for this session. And then let me proceed to the opening ceremony of the ICMeSH 2020 after this. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Yay!
Assalamualaikum.